Hey, what's up guys? I'm Steve Wells. Today I want to talk a little bit about something that I hear constantly. So I see it in the comments on my videos, I see it in comments of other people's videos. People make videos dedicated to it. I hear it a million times in the store every day, and that is, do I need to be wearing a stability shoe? And the answer is no, probably not, maybe. So stability shoes should only be used if someone is pronating, which the 2-second definition is your ankles are rolling in towards the inside whenever you are stepping. So overpronation is ankles going in towards the inside. Underpronation or supination is your ankles going out towards the outside. And neutral is completely straight down the center, not rolling as you're moving. And honestly, pronation is super common. It's gonna absorb some of that shock as you're stepping down when that ankle is flexing, so it's not necessarily a bad thing, but it is something that you should be aware of, and be aware of the possible injuries that go along with the way that your body mechanics are, so that you can try to avoid them. So I want to talk a little bit about the difference between flat feet and overpronation, because they are different. A lot of times they go together, but sometimes they don't, and you need to be aware of that if you overpronate, you don't necessarily have low arches. If you have low arches, you don't necessarily overpronate. You hear that goose? Shut up! So flat feet literally refers to the arch underneath your foot, the curve. There is no curve, and your foot is laying completely flat on the ground. A lot of times people don't have flat feet if they think they do. Not a lot of people have completely flat, laying on the floor feet. And then overpronation, like I said before, refers to that ankle movement, not necessarily as much of that arch. So when do you use a stability shoe? When do you use an insert? What is going to keep you running the longest and keep you from getting injured? And I hate to say it, but you can't really know. You just gotta try things and just see what works for you. And I'm gonna tell you what works for me, and you can kind of go off of that. So if you're looking at stability shoes, they're going to have posting on the medial side, which is so this is the right shoe here on the inside where you're going to be pronating towards. It has a denser material, softer material out here and around here, but denser material through here to help align the foot and help with wear of the shoe, because you are going to be putting more pressure on that inside edge, and so that'll stand up to that extra pressure a little bit better. So I used to wear the New Balance 860, which is the stability version of the New Balance 880 essentially, and ended up switching to the 880 instead, and found that I didn't really need a stability shoe, and stability shoes were actually causing me knee pain. And so actually I just got this is an ASICS GT2000, and wore it around, and it hurt my knees for a couple of weeks that I was dealing with that. The GT2000 is kind of that traditional stability shoe with that medial posting. Now, shoe companies are not necessarily seeing as much value, I don't think, in that medial posting, and a lot of companies that are sticking with that medial posting are softening it more than it has been traditionally, so it's not going to be providing as much stability as it would have 10 years ago when they were trying to overstabilize every single foot that walked in the door. And some companies are trying to start to do it a little bit differently. So this is the New Balance Vongo. I can run in this shoe. This doesn't have that posting. It has to do with the geometry of the shoe. Ultra also does their stability a little bit differently. They have these pods that are in the midsole of the shoe. They're a hard plastic that is going to cause your foot to react and kind of push back away from that if you're starting to overpronate. Has this guide rail that runs up along the side of your foot to kind of push it back a little bit if you're starting to overpronate. But what's kind of cool about this shoe is actually designed to not affect you if you are not overpronating, but to give you a little bit of stability if you are. And this is the Hoka Arahi. So it actually, instead of just having that posting right in here, it has what they call a J-frame, which is all of this gray material that runs around the heel. Is going to be a little bit denser to provide that extra stability in this shoe. And a lot of other companies are kind of trying different things as well. Brooks has their guide rail system. On has, they actually make the cloud pods on the medial side smaller on that shoe to increase the durability, provide that stability in the Cloud Flyer. So stability shoes are to provide stability for the ankle, not to provide arch support. So this is the GT2000, a stability shoe. And if you take a look on the inside here, it is completely flat. So there's not going to be any type of curve to support underneath your arch. If you're feeling arch support, it's going to be this upper here pressing on the medial side of your foot, not an actual physical curve on the inside of the shoe. The only shoes that actually have a curved last, so actually have a bump to support underneath your arch on the inside of the shoe, is Karhu. So they have this denser material that runs actually all the way through the midsole, so not technically a stability shoe, but they call it their fulcrum, and there's going to be actual arch support on the inside of all of Karhu's shoes, but that's not a very common thing when it comes to running shoes. So I'm not necessarily saying that you don't need or shouldn't wear a stability shoe if you overpronate. I'm just saying that I've had problems with them in the past, and if something is causing me pain, I'm going to stop doing it, except for running. That's kind of stupid, isn't it? So what I've found makes me most comfortable and causes me the least amount of injuries, keeps me on my feet as long as possible, is to have a shoe with a little bit straighter of a last. So this is the Saucony Triumph. It is a neutral shoe, so has the same midsole cushioning throughout the entire thing. And what I've found is having that straighter last shape, it's not going to be cutting in, kind of like I've talked about before, how this shoe does not work for overpronators very well. A lot of it has to do with the shape of it. And so if you compare the shape of these two shoes, which one looks more like a flat foot, that's the one you should go with if you have flat feet. So say that you figure out that you actually have low arches, that you're not just overpronating, because a lot of people are told that they have flat feet because they overpronate, and then they find out that they actually have high arches. So since I don't wear stability shoes, what do I do to keep from having problems? And a lot of times I will be wearing, well, all of the time, I'll be wearing inserts. So I have a few different ones. This one was in the shoe that I was wearing. This is made by Superfeet. This one is made by Columbia. So just kind of different characteristics to it. This one's a little more flexible, a little stiffer. These aren't providing much cushioning in my shoe. These are more to provide that extra arch support that I need to not be in pain, even if I'm just like walking around a lot of times with how flat my feet are. So I definitely recommend going somewhere, talking to some people that know what they're talking about whenever it comes to figuring out what insert you should wear, or doing a lot of research before you buy anything, because there are definitely a lot of inserts out there that do more harm than they do good for me. These are going to be some of like the least aggressive inserts, so not going to be like super high through the arch. You don't want to be pushing up on your foot as much as you just want to be supporting where it is naturally. There are some, if I wear inserts that are really aggressive for 5 minutes, my feet hurt for the rest of the day. We always say in the store, might feel a little bit weird at first, but shouldn't feel like you're standing on a golf ball. And that's definitely what you should be looking for whenever you're trying out inserts, is you should notice that it's in there, but it shouldn't feel uncomfortable at all. And if you check out the wear pattern on the bottom of your shoe, a lot of times you can tell what's going on. If you look at the wear pattern on my shoe, this is the 880, this is a neutral shoe. I have probably 400 or 500, almost 500 I think on these shoes, and it's worn down right in the center on the mid to forefoot here. Another thing that everyone hates to hear is the biggest thing that's going to help you is strength exercises, stretching, and foam rolling. Sorry to break it to you, but if you want to avoid injury, those are the main things that you need to do. Switching shoes, more cushioning, inserts, stability shoes are all just band-aids trying to compensate for the bigger problem that is lack of strength. And so if you can solve that strength issue, it will solve your problems. And that's something that I've been working on personally for a while now. Very slow progress, but I am doing my best to try to prevent injury for myself in the future. So I hope this video was helpful. Definitely let me know if you have any questions about anything down in the comments, or if I said anything wrong that I should be aware of. This is just stuff that I've figured out from my experience running over the years, and stuff that I've figured out about kind of my body specifically. So go ahead down below and hit the subscribe and bell button so that you'll get notifications whenever I am posting. Make sure you like this video, and I will talk to you guys next week.